Good morning. How's everybody doing? Really, I'm here to tell you a story that's both personal and private and public. We have a story of transformation, of real transformation. And when I talk about transformation, I'm not talking necessarily about transformation of a police department by a police department. What I really want to talk about is a police department transformed by its community that paved the way for us to be able to accomplish our mission and vision. And in turn, it allows the community to empower itself. Now, as you can see, there are two names above me. I was introduced, my partner, and quite often my strength, Beverly Padgett, who is sitting right here, and you're also about to meet over my shoulder, is a tremendous driver behind a lot of the successes we have seen and we will continue to see. And that being said, let's meet Beverly.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Beverly Padgett. I have been in Albany for 37 years. In 2009, the City of Albany noted that we needed to change. Our communities was going down, crime was rampant, and the community was not speaking with the police department. We knew that we wanted to move Albany to a different way of life, a different way of living. We wanted to change so that we could find a way that we could help the law enforcement take care of us, and we in turn could take care of ourselves. The Common Council picked 15 residents from each ward to represent the City of Albany and to be advisors to the police department on how they should go about seeking change in the city. We have been together now since 2010. We started as an advisory committee. We have changed our philosophy to engage, educate, and empower the citizens of Albany to help protect their lives, their families, and their community, and work with the police department. We now hold community policing forums, which the citizens of Albany are now aware of. The Neighborhood Engagement Unit, which is part of the police department, these guys actually ride on bikes, they walk the streets, and they know their neighborhoods. The police department also have a big program with Equal Knox. Then there's the cadet program. There's the youth police initiative, the bike rodeo for children that do not have bikes. In the community forum, hundreds of people show up. The community policing is just a whole new era of working together with community residents and law enforcement for a better quality of life. And we're trying to eradicate the fear of crime. Hopefully in a year coming up, I can reach out to more and more people, to make them feel safe.
I'm glad you feel that is as inspiring as I do, and Beverly, as you can see, is quite a unique person. And if I was going to try to describe in two words, two feelings, what Beverly talked about in that very eloquent presentation, she highlights two things that we deal with in our community quite a bit: hope and fear. Hope and fear. The cycles of hope and fear. There are people that have ridden this roller coaster in the City of Albany for decades. Mostly fear, with little glimmers of hope. Throughout the time, I kind of likened it to how in the Peanuts, when I think it was Lucy used to hold the football, and Charlie Brown would come and she'd pull the football away every time. And it seemed that that's what we did quite a bit to our community. Kept giving them glimmers of promise. I can go back. I've been here on the department for 21 years. I go back to the mid-'90s when we were starting to hit a point where we were gonna hit this foray in community policing, but it was once again a pull of the football. So what are we talking about really when we're talking about fear? We're talking about fear of crime, fear of disorder, and general fear. But here's the issue, and Beverly hit on this in her presentation. She talks about in 2009 the community and the police not talking and crime being rampant. When in fact, in 2009, crime was in one of its steepest declines, not only in the city of Albany, but nationally. But if you asked Beverly and just about anybody else in the city of Albany or any other major metropolitan area, they would have told you what? They would have told you that crime is on the rise. And this is such a phenomenon. There's a term. It's a reassurance gap. And it's the gap between actual incidents of crime and how people feel. And there's a lot of factors that play into that. It's some of the things of the pictures that we saw over my shoulder, but it's also the relationship that a community has with its police department, that trust, whether that police department possesses legitimacy within the community. And it's something that we needed to continue to work on. So she also talks about hope. And hope is a four-letter word. And especially that's very true to many of the people in the city of Albany when they've had that glimmer of hope in the past. But hope was real. Hope was real. And we take it back to hope for a change in a community. And Beverly, I have to keep going back to, and she talks about a city demanded change. Understand that this was a city that demanded change. It wasn't necessarily elected officials. It wasn't necessarily a police department. It wasn't someone trying to move personal agendas forward. It was a city of people just like Beverly, people that have lived here for decades and wanted change. And they are the ones that pushed that through, made that the forefront, made that a topic, and made sure that we continue moving that forward in the city. Additionally, we talk about hope. We forget there's another part to this, and it's the inside of the police department. It's the members of the police department. And as it turned out, that hope was very important to them as well. They had been patrolling the streets for quite some time with this gap building between them and the people they serve. And they felt it. They felt it every day. They felt the distrust. They felt the disdain every day. And they didn't like it. It's not a good way to go to work every day when the very people that you're there to serve don't trust you and don't like you. So it was time for change. So we go back to 2009, late 2009, September. I sat down with my then command staff and we start talking about how are we going to address these fears, these hopes? What can we do to change a police department? I mean, can we? Can we do this? Can we change a city? How do we do this? We realized that chasm that I just discussed was much wider than we thought. What we actually thought was maybe characterized as a small ditch was actually a Grand Canyon, and we didn't know. Not only between us and the members of our community, but between the administration and the members of the department. So we lacked communication in both arenas. So when we were going to go out and start our strategic planning, do our stakeholder analysis, and talk to the very people we needed to learn from, we realized we were not well positioned to do that. We couldn't do it. It would have been an unsuccessful venture. So we needed people that already had that credibility, that legitimacy in the community, that could keep a foot in both worlds. Very special people, I might add, that could keep a foot in both worlds. So we went to the council, our common council, a legislative body, and said, we need help. We need people that can help us shape this department so we can serve what you need us, we can serve the members of this community and do what you need us to do. And they obliged. And they gave us Beverly. And they gave us 14 others. Actually, in the end, I think they gave us 16 others to be able to help guide us. But it was more than that. They helped us answer the main questions we need, the big questions we need, the three questions that we most needed to be able to answer to move forward. First, what does this community, the City of Albany, unique to the City of Albany, what do they expect of its police department? What do they want from us? What do they need from us? Second, what can the police department do? How can we bridge the gap? How can we get people to trust us more? What can we do? And then the third question, which was somewhat surprising, and especially to members of the police department, the third question was, what can the community do to encourage trust and a relationship between the community and the police department? Which was a great move, because community policing is a two-way street. It's a cooperative effort. We have to work together in that endeavor. So it was incredibly smart to move forward in that direction, and I give them full credit for that. So this group is put together and led by Beverly and a group of others who go out and they're doing community forums. They're going to people's houses and having coffee in their living rooms. to talk about the problems that they see, reach out to the people that we knew we could never reach out to, because these were the people that needed to help us make change. The people that we talk to every day, especially 4 years ago, those were not the people that were going to help us affect the change that we needed in this city, because we already spoke to them. We needed to hear from the people, the disenfranchised, the people that felt they didn't have a voice, the people that felt they couldn't get in our door. And that's what ACPAC did. So let's talk about what the results of that was. The results of all their hard work and the work of the internal board. We had an internal board as well to review, which, by the way, the recommendations that came out of both were almost mirror images. We get a new strategic plan, brand new. Actually, the first real strategic plan the City of Albany for the police department has ever had, and we are arguably the first police department in the country, though NYPD continues to argue with us on that one. But we come out with a new vision, a new mission, new core values. And why are these so important? These are built on the foundation that ACPAC and the Internal Committee of Police Officers created. Not out of me sitting in my office trying to figure out where we need to be. It was the voice of the very community that we were there to serve, and the people that are there to serve them. And that's why this is such an important endeavor. So what does it mean? What does it mean to us as a whole? Where do we go? Now, those of you in the business community, and I see I have a very diverse group of people here, and I go back to my time in business school, and we talk about a triple bottom line in business, in private industry. We talk about people, profit, planet, to be able to better serve mankind, go beyond that bottom line of profit. And what we recognize through the work of ACPAC and through the voices of our community is that we were myopic in our view. We were looking only at one thing, our profit, which is not profit. It's Part 1 crimes. It's the amount of crime. And the amount of crime is measured in index. It's called Part 1 crimes. They're index crimes, things like murder, sexual assault, robbery, larceny, burglary. And they're similar to the Dow Jones Industrial Average. They are a basket of crimes that are an indicator of whether crime is going up or down. So considering that that was our only focus and that was our only measure, where do you think all our resources went? We did everything we could legally to reduce Part 1 crimes because that was our outcome measure. But as it turns out, our outcome measure was not in line with the expectations of the very people that we serve. So we needed to realign ourselves with our environment. We needed to recognize what change needed to be had, and that's how we went from having that single bottom line to this triple bottom line that I talk about right now. So we add on. Public safety is still a huge role. We have to make sure we keep crime down and keep reducing crime, but recognize that's a third of what we do. And in fact, the reality is it is a third of what we do. Most of our calls are public service calls. They're traffic accidents, they're neighbor trouble calls, they're dog barking, you name it. It's service calls that never show up as a crime. So those were services that were never measured. So we talk about satisfaction. Satisfaction has two legs. Satisfaction by the community, satisfaction for the services provided by this police department to make sure that we are providing what they need, what they expect. We need to be able to measure that. We need to be able to quantify that to be able to show that we are actually providing what they need and what they expect. Secondly, when it comes to satisfaction, I bring up internal satisfaction, satisfaction amongst the men and women within the department. We talk about work engagement, job satisfaction. Do our members, our employees feel that their opinions and their ideas are valued? And do they feel valued as people? And that rounds out that second leg. Stewardship, the third part of our bottom line. Stewardship of the significant amount of tax dollars entrusted to us as a police department. In most municipalities, the police department is a large percentage of their budget, and this city is no different. We're a third of the city's budget. It's a lot of money. So with those tax dollars, we need to make sure that we provide value, added value more than the money that's invested, the return on investment that people make in this department. And what are we returning for that? Are we making sure every day that we are performing our service in the most effective and efficient manner? Additionally, are we using those funds that people work for to be able to do things like heal the wounded communities that were identified by ACPAC, to win over generations, to be able to change lives in communities? Are we using those funds that are entrusted to us in the best manner possible? And that rounds out our bottom line, our triple bottom line. But really, the end result is, what do we get in the end? Where are we? Where does this bring us, this cooperative effort? It brings us to a point of actual, real trust and cooperation. Something that I've watched Beverly's video probably 10 times at this point, just to be able to desensitize myself to it, because it actually makes me emotional to see how people in the community feel, how they have actually become part of what we do and have actually recognized that they play a big role in shaping not only this police department but the community. They feel empowered. They are with us, moving this department forward. So with that, I would like to publicly say once again, Beverly and ACPAC, thank you very much for everything you've done. I look forward to more successes in the future, and thank you very much for your time today.
So we still had about a minute left in the Chief's talk. So maybe you can just tell us very briefly about your experiences with what he talked about.
My experiences have been great. I go out and talk to neighborhood associations. I meet people. I also have good people on the committee that actually work. My right-hand person is sitting right here next to me. She helps. We're activists in the community for many different things. I go to different rallies, and I'm always singing his praises because he is my fourth chief. And so therefore, I see such a big difference, especially in my community. You know, I see how the people react, and when I come around, we're just great to have such a cooperation and partnership with the police department. And I thank God every day that their families lend into us to protect us. And I also pray that they get home safe after their day's work.